here's Brody Brazil.
Well, this video is about to be kind of a 2-for-1 update on the Tampa Bay Rays. In just a second, we'll talk about some newly released and unveiled details regarding their temporary 2025 season over at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, which is the spring training and minor league home of the New York Yankees. That's where the Rays are going to call home for their upcoming regular season. That's to come momentarily, but first, also want to discuss Rob Manfred's visit to Florida. On Friday, he was with the governor of that state, and on Monday, he was meeting commissioners of Pinellas County. This information coming to us via the Tampa Bay Times. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred met with Pinellas County officials Monday to discuss the stalled decision on public financing for a new Tampa Bay Rays stadium. County Administrator Barry Burton said he and County Commission chairperson Kathleen Peters met with Manfred to, quote, talk through the situation, end quote. He said Manfred requested the meeting, and it was arranged through Peters' office. They met at the Lealman Exchange Community Center, and no one from the Rays was present. Now, the County Commission will meet December 17th, that's right around the corner, to consider whether to approve taking out bonds to finance $312.5 million for their portion of stadium costs. I should also give you the context here that late last week, the city of St. Petersburg also approved their half of the costs, actually more than their half, about $500 million, which initially it looked like they weren't even going to take a vote, but from a Wednesday morning to a Thursday morning, it was quickly on the agenda, and it was quickly voted yes, 4-3. However, even two of those yes votes were explained as we're doing this to force the Rays' hand. Essentially, we're trying to use leverage here because we don't think they're up to the task. We want to hold them to the task to keep them accountable on this deal. The Rays have basically said if it's 2029, they necessarily couldn't be in the deal by themselves. They couldn't pay for that all alone. So it was almost like the city of St. Pete was holding the Rays to the fire here of the deal that they originally agreed to. So now we'll see what Pinellas County is going to do with their $300+ million to decide on. So how did this go when the commissioner of Major League Baseball comes down and meets with commissioners of Pinellas County in Florida? Quote, it went fine. Peters, a supporter of the deal, told a reporter in a text. I mean, I'm sure there was more to it than that. Quote, he spoke of his support of the deal and the fans, end quote. And what else? Did we get in the weeds here? Was this just a topical discussion? Was this kind of just for show, just to show up, just to try and bridge some gaps here? What was this all about? A spokesperson for the Rays did not immediately respond to a call and a text seeking comment. So that was on Monday, and it kind of makes sense here. The travel itinerary and agenda of Rob Manfred probably flew down from New York to Florida on Friday for this meeting with the governor, Ron DeSantis. We'll talk about this now, but then stayed across the weekend and met with Pinellas County officials on Monday before heading out to Dallas, Texas for baseball's winter meetings. Yeah, probably Monday night, early Tuesday morning. But going back to Friday, Manfred also met with Governor Ron DeSantis at noon on Friday, according to the governor's schedule. DeSantis' spokesperson, Jeremy Redfern, did not return multiple requests for comment via calls and text messages since Friday evening. Now, you would understand that the commissioner of baseball coming down to meet with county officials because, well, they've got a huge decision on their hands. That makes a lot more sense than meeting with the governor. What necessarily does the governor have to do with these votes? Is there leverage there? Are there some politics there? Was this just the course of something else happening? Who knows? But it's interesting that Manfred made that stop number one and then ultimately stop number two. And Manfred, here are my takeaways on this part. And by the way, we'll get to the stadium updates in Tampa in just a second, the temporary situation momentarily. Manfred has made multiple strategic visits to trouble spots before. When the A's were pursuing Las Vegas right before winter meetings, I think 2022, it was reported that Manfred was out in Las Vegas to scope things out, figure out where things stood. So this is not a surprise that Manfred would actually make the trip somewhere to kind of put his own conversation in the mix. Greasing the county's wheels also, I suppose, makes a lot of sense. But the governor meeting, like I said, it just doesn't add up for what maybe Manfred was trying to get out of that conversation. Just doesn't add up as much. You know, another observation to point out here is that sometimes when Commissioner Rob Manfred parachutes into these situations, and I've witnessed this before, because there is a certain level of detail that is so deep regarding the back and forth and the everyday news of this Rays Stadium situation and fiasco, sometimes the commissioner just doesn't have the bandwidth to be up to speed on every last detail. And so when he answers questions about the situation or he makes comments about the situation, they always seem a little bit vague. And I say here maybe he appeared less versed on the issues and the details, and maybe that's true, or maybe he's intentionally staying a little bit more vanilla and generic on things because he wants the team to deal with the deep details. But again, when the commissioner comes down, I'm not sure that he was getting into every last page of a document and going over every detail. It was probably more of a very surface level conversation. And again, Manfred represents all the owners which make up Major League Baseball, including the Rays. So you'd have to think, right, that Manfred didn't just come down here on his own. And the Rays probably were on board. They approved it. They talked about it before he came down. I highly doubt that Manfred comes down to talk to officials in Florida without the Rays knowing about it or endorsing it. So that's the first half of this update. The commissioner was in Florida. Here's the second half of this update. It was a document put out on Monday by the Rays, and the headline says Tampa Bay Rays relocation to Steinbrenner Field. This is kind of a one-sheet, an overview, a document to spell some things out because, yeah, obviously there are some questions, and I can't read the entire thing, but I want to highlight certain portions of it, point them out, and then kind of go over them and have a conversation about them. First thing we take away here is that all Rays regular season home games will be played at GMS Field, Steinbrenner Field. We knew that, but here's the interesting part. The playing of potential Rays postseason games at Steinbrenner Field has not been determined and would jointly be considered and decided by the Rays, the Yankees, and Major League Baseball. Now, it's interesting because out in Sacramento, the A's have already declared that postseason games, if they ever got there at Sutter Health Park for 2025, 6, 7, maybe 2028 and beyond, they would not be able to play postseason games in a minor league ballpark. In Florida, they're a bit behind the curve here and a little bit late to the process because of the roof getting ripped off Tropicana Field. This is all very last minute. They're still figuring this out. But it's interesting to note that the Yankees would have a say in where the Rays do and don't play their potential playoff games. Again, this is all considering if they were to make it. But for the Rays, they don't know about the postseason where they would play those games. And I'll tell you what, this is something that is interesting. Does Major League Baseball even want the A's and Rays in the playoffs for the next couple of years because of this very dilemma? Wow. The Rays will have limited permission to sell regular season inventory throughout the seating bowl, including stadium concourse walls, the scoreboard, and the outfield walls. And we're talking about regular season inventory, advertisements, right? So this is the Yankees building. This is the Yankees Stadium and their venue. It's their spring training home. It's their single-A affiliate home, and the Rays are paying the Yankees $15 million per year. I mean, that's a pretty good ball player, right? You can get a good player for $15 million. Rays are paying the Yankees $15 million a year, so the Rays are also getting the ability to, put up their own sponsors and ads, and they've got to find a way to make some money off this situation too. So that's the deal between the Rays and Yankees. The Rays can put up some of their own ads and signage. The Rays will move into agreed-upon areas of the main stadium at GMS Field at the conclusion of Yankees spring training. Well, that's obvious, right? The Yankees are going to use it for their major and minor league spring training. They've got the main stadium. They've got the other fields. And as soon as the Yankees vacate, the Rays can move right in. And maybe that's why they pushed back the home opener one day to just buy one extra day of time for the Rays to settle in their new facilities. The Rays would be responsible for costs related to improvements made to Field 2. That's one of the side fields of the complex, the Steinbrenner Field complex, which is the tentative location, subject to approvals from and coordination with a number of parties, where the Tampa Tarpons would play their home games in 2025. That's right, this stadium, this 10,000-plus seat stadium, is where the single-A affiliate played their games normally all season long. Now that single-A affiliate has been moved to a side field with probably, bleachers seating like 200. I mean, it really is changing the course of that minor league team in their season. You'd have to think that somehow, some way, the Tarpons are getting a little bit of kickback here for being absolutely displaced. Again, they're the Yankees single-A affiliate. They also reside in Tampa, but the Rays are obviously taking over the stadium and really kicking out the Tarpons to Field 2. But whatever improvements are necessary to play actual minor league games there, the Rays are on the hook for that. Okay, back to the Major League field. To meet Major League standards, I should say back to the minor league field that is about to be a Major League field, Improvements may be made to areas of the main stadium, including dugouts, camera wells, visiting clubhouse facilities, and the press box. The determination of improvements will be made by the clubs in Major League Baseball. Well, I got to be honest here. They better get on this decision-making process relatively quickly. We're here almost at mid-December, and if there's going to be construction and projects to be taken care of and solutions to be had, it's going to take a couple months to do all the main work to get this all up to standards and speed. So I don't know when they were planning on doing this, but those decisions and that construction had better take place soon. The A's, again, in Sacramento, have been on this basically since the end of the baseball season in October, late September, early October up in Sacramento. So this is probably a better built-out stadium, but it obviously also needs some corresponding work. The Yankees will retain the sole right to schedule non-baseball events in the Stadium Bowl, such as concerts or soccer matches when the Rays are on the road. The Rays will be consulted in advance of such plans, and appropriate care will be taken to preserve the integrity of the field. So, again, the Yankees get to decide whether the Rays play playoff games or not at Steinbrenner Field or somewhere else, and the Yankees also hold the right to schedule whatever events they want on days and pretty much weeks. I mean, the Rays, for the second half of the season, they're gone almost the entire time. It's almost like 70 of their final 100 games are on the road because of weather and because of complications with that. But the point is that the Yankees can come in and schedule whatever events they want, and they're trying to be respectful here. They're saying they're not going to tear up the field, but it's still the Yankees' facility and venue to do whatever they want in between Rays games, right? So these are all the minor details and the stuff that the two teams were going over that now are being released to the public. The Rays will create a team-branded atmosphere for fans to enjoy. Discussions between the clubs will be held to determine how to temporarily alter or minimize the existing Yankees marks, installations, and branding around the stadium. Now, I've heard that the statue of George Steinbrenner right at the very front, that is not going anywhere. They're not trying to hide that or cover that up. That is the name of the stadium. But you can see in the photos of Steinbrenner Field the big Yankees murals and where it says YANKEES and there's NY all over the place. Like, they've really planted their flag in Tampa. The Yankees have as their spring training and minor league home. So now that the Rays are there, how do you do this at the stadium where it's like, yeah, this is the Yankees stadium, but we're going to cover all that up. We're going to pretend like this isn't happening. So understand that it might look a little bit different. The Rays are going to try and tarp everything off and cover everything up that says Yankees. They're going to try and make this their own, but I don't think you're going to be fooling anybody as to what it really is. The Yankees will not maintain a team shop or sell Yankees merchandise inside Steinbrenner Field during the regular season. Which is interesting, right? That's a pretty strong line in the sand, because you can imagine that the Yankees, through this entire deal, if they really wanted to be a little bit salty about it, I mean, they shouldn't be. They agreed to this and they're taking in $15 million. But if they wanted to make this spicy and difficult, the Yankees could have just said, we're going to keep our team shop open, right? We're going to keep selling our merch. Even though this is now your regular season home, we're just going to maintain our presence here just because we can. So interesting that the Yankees have pulled back from that. They're out of selling merch at their spring training and minor league home. The Rays will use the home clubhouse and will utilize the Yankees' workout and training facilities in the main stadium, including those in the newly constructed player and baseball operations building adjacent to the stadium. So let's be honest here. The Yankees spare no expense in everything they do. And now the Rays, who, historically don't spend as much, they're definitely getting to benefit from their $15 million of rent. And everything that the Yankees have done in Tampa, now the Rays are getting the fruits of those labor here in the upcoming regular season. So here are my takeaways. Number one, has anybody thought about this yet? How awkward it's going to be early in the season. This is April 17th through the 20th. It's a 4-game series. When the Yankees come down from New York and play a series in Tampa, they come back to town. I say that because at the end of February and most of March, they'll be in Tampa playing spring training games. And now they're coming back to play in their spring training facility as a major league game against the Tampa Bay Rays, right? Like, who could have ever painted out this picture a year ago, 5 months ago? And talk in preparation about fixing up the stadium and making Steinbrenner Field work. And it's the same thing in Sacramento for the A's with Sutter Health Park. You can talk and prep as much as you want about this, but I think when it comes down to actually playing these games and how it looks on television and the weather situation in Tampa with 6 to 8 rain-impacted games and multiple doubleheaders. That's why they don't play outdoors in Florida in the summer. I think a lot of this is going to be a rough look for Major League Baseball. We're about to find out. And maybe it won't be. Maybe it will be in Tampa or won't be in Sacramento or will be in Sacramento and won't be a tough deal in Tampa. Who knows? You can't throw everything in the same conversation in basket. But I'm just saying, overall, the big picture is that 2 major league teams playing in minor league stadiums, one by choice, one out of necessity. I don't know that it's going to have the best look and polish in terms of optics for Major League Baseball. And opening day has been pushed back one day. It's now March 28th. I think that game is against the Twins, if I'm correct. Anyway, it's been pushed back one day. No big deal, but it just goes to show you every single day matters at the beginning of this baseball season as they're going to try and fix this place up, make it ready for Rays baseball. Yeah, look where it says Yankees there down the first base line up on the facade. And speaking of that famous facade, I can't believe I didn't even notice this till now, and I was just looking at that very picture. That is the same famous Yankee facade. It was at Old Yankee Stadium. It's at the current Yankee Stadium. I never realized it's also down here at their spring training and minor league complex in Tampa. So that famous Yankee facade will be hovering over Tampa Bay Rays games in 2025 and maybe beyond. That's another part of this conversation. Everybody's approaching this like, oh, this is only for 1 year. Do you know for certain that Tropicana Field is going to get fixed up? Because that's really the only other logistical option for the Rays. It's either there and they spend $60+ million or more to fix that up for a couple years, or they keep playing here. My money is that they keep playing here at the home of the Yankees for spring and minor league games. That's the end of this video. Crazy stuff going on. Thumbs up down below. That greatly helps me in this video and this channel. I would really appreciate that. But also make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. That way I definitely get to see you back here on the channel next time.